Hello, hello, hello. Greetings and salutations to you all. I hope that everyone is doing as healthy and as well and as happy as they can be during this time. And let's get into some astrology. So, I wanted to talk about the Saturn squares that are coming up with the stellium that's going on in Taurus. And we'll talk a little bit about the planets and their rulerships and how they act while they're in Taurus. And we'll talk about the role of Saturn in astrology and talk about how these aspects are affecting life right now. So everything that I'm going to talk about is from a perspective of kind of the way that we view history from with the cycles that these aspects make. And we can kind of look back throughout history and see different phases, such as Saturn phases or Jupiter phases, and see how they have corresponded to the aspects that they were making to other planets during these phases and things like that. So when we are talking about the square aspect in particular, the square aspect is a disagreement because it is the aspect depending on the square, because there are different squares that are happening that are not necessarily a bad thing, because when we think about an argument, we're usually having it in a negative connotation. But sometimes, arguments are an unavoidable part of life, and they are. I would almost say that arguments are evolutionary, because they are times of, if it's a dynamic argument, and I know this might seem kind of glossy right now because I'm just kind of talking about arguments in general, as a general sense, but there is definitely a truth out of chaos kind of aspect when it comes to talking about arguments, because the truth is bound to come out in the argument, and it's unfortunate that it took that amount of energy to bring out that truth. But if there's no other way to do it, then if the argument is going to happen, then the at least the truth needs to come out, and for the situation to be sort of resolved. If that much force has been put into it, then as they say, the show must go on. So so when we're talking about the square aspect, it's a difficult aspect, but it's not always a negative thing. However, because this happens to be Saturn and the kind of situation that Saturn is in astrology, that usually when Saturn is involved in kind of more difficult aspects, it does tend to be a kind of heavy hitting kind of negativity with that. So I just wanted to kind of keep that in mind, that I'm not trying to say that this is the only explanation or the main explanation for the things that are going on in the world, but I do think that there can be some takeaways from looking at this. So here we go. So the role of Saturn in astrology is the ruler of the 10th house. The 10th house in astrology is all about our work and our career and our duty out in the world. So the 10th house and the 4th house are opposite to each other, because the 4th house is about our childhood upbringing, our formative years, the upbringing that we had that formed us and shaped us into the person that we are. It's who our family members were, their application in our lives, and how they helped form our opinions and our viewpoints and our programming in our youth and adolescence into adulthood. And then you have your 10th house, which is all about the work that you do as an adult, as 4th house is about childhood, 10th house is about adulthood. So the work that you do outside the home, and the responsibilities that go along with that work. So it has to do with all things that are sort of outside of the home, as the 4th house is the home, and then the 4th house transiting planets are speaking to the home at present, as opposed to the home you had as a child. So just to kind of add that little bit tidbit in there. But so okay, so we talked a little bit about Saturn, and let's talk a little bit about the Sun in Taurus. As the first aspect we're going to talk about is Saturn square Taurus. So the Sun in Taurus is, let's talk about Taurus as a sign to begin with. Taurus as a sign is an Earth sign ruled by Venus. It rules all the things that takes part in our sensuousness, the sensuous parts of life. And I don't just mean sexuality, but I mean the things that make us feel a special type of way, that only beautiful things that really touch us deeply inside can. And so Taurus rules art and music and things that are applied from us and our own individuality that are shared out into the world, for others to be also touched and to kind of recognize that compatibility, I guess, that resonance is the word that I'm looking for, to kind of resonate with that. So Taurus rules art, sports, music, makeup, aesthetics. So clothing, designers, stylists, hairstylists, estheticians, all the industries that have to do with making us feel glamorous and beautiful, and really kind of into the aesthetics of ourselves and of life. Those are all things that have to do with Taurus, and also nature. Venus, the ruler of Taurus, is also Aphrodite. So there is something to say about the feeling that nature and the feeling that natural things gives us, and how it touches us in a way that's indescribable, that has to be felt. And so the Sun in Taurus is, we are wanting to express all of these things, all of these beautiful things that are taking up residence in our field right now. So we're wanting to express through creativity and makeup and clothing, and art and all of those things that touch us in a special way, that really help us connect to our senses, our taste, touch, smell, sound, and sight. So the Taurus is the inner foodie in all of us. Really like food, really like drinks, really like good times. So with the Sun square Saturn, this is a time that we are really trying to avoid more of the drama, more of the work, more of the responsibilities. The past year has been incredibly difficult. The understatement of my life, I swear. But we all know what I'm talking about here. The past year has been incredibly difficult, and so with the Saturn square Sun aspect, we are feeling like, the buck stops here. We're going to take a little time. We're going to take this Kit Kat break, so to speak, and have some chocolate, have some good food, have some good drinks, get a manicure, get a pedicure, get a facial, those type of things. That are really going to try and that we really want to channel out those artistic and creative things. Maybe get in touch with nature. We're outside taking walks more. We're really looking at the flowers and noticing how beautiful they are. And then there's Saturn here, kind of always somewhere in the background, but a deep feeling that there's work that needs to be done. We're still seeing so many things that are distressing us out in the world, that always remind us and that are always a reflection of something that needs to be done. So we're really kind of trying to avoid this kind of harshness that's been our reality for a while. We would like to take a break. We would like to take some time to smell the roses, so to speak. And so this is a time that we are really looking for that reprieve from this very much Saturn controlled year, it seems like, with all the squares, especially the Saturn square Uranus, which we'll talk about pretty soon. But let's see, what is my next discussion going to be about? Okay, so let's talk about Mercury in Taurus. So Mercury in Taurus is a little bit stubborn. So our thoughts are once again focused on kind of the lighter side of things. We are not so much, our thoughts are a little bit scattered um, because we're really trying to focus on kind of pleasing ourselves and pleasant things, while once again Saturn is kind of here in the back of our mind, like did you lock the front door, did you turn off the coffee pot, did you forget your grocery list, did you what still needs to be done to take care of your responsibilities here. And so with Mercury square Saturn, we see some edgy attitudes towards authority. We see some stubbornness that comes out, where we really, really, really are having a hard time mentally getting ourselves to a point where we want to continue on with our responsibilities. It does become more of a challenge to kind of force ourselves to get in that mindset where we are focusing on work during this time. So it can just be kind of a scatterbrained period with Saturn square Mercury. So if this is something you're experiencing, just know you're not going crazy. It happens to everybody, whether Mercury is square Saturn or not, but during this time, it's especially just kind of painful, I feel like. So, you're not alone. All right, so the next issue at hand is Saturn square Uranus. So Uranus in Taurus, where it's been stationed for quite a while now, is really not a good place for Uranus, because Uranus is the modern ruler of Aquarius, which is an air sign. So Uranus has to do with it's a ruler of electricity, digital communications, the internet, lightning. So kind of these really powerful, invisible forces that are very much working themselves out in our existence. But with Uranus and Taurus, it's a time that Uranus can't operate at its max capacity. It can't move around with the speed that it wants to. You know, Taurus, the bull, is kind of partial to the things that it likes. So it's always going to choose sort of self pleasing things, as opposed to trying to extend themselves out for another person. And I don't mean that in a negative way or in a selfish way or anything like that. Of course, it always can be, but for the most part with Uranus and Taurus, it's just really feeling pent up and stagnant because of Saturn, this disagreement. We can't go anywhere because we can't agree on the solution here. Uranus is wanting to move so quickly. Saturn is very cautious with this aspect. So it is very difficult, and the pent-up feeling and the feeling that you're going to explode into 1,000 directions, and that there's so much that needs to be done, but that so much is not allowed to move right now. And that's very frustrating. And then let's see, the next aspect that I'm going to talk about is Venus square Saturn. So with Venus in her, this is funny. Okay, so Venus is in her home territory, ruling as ruler of Taurus, and Saturn is also in its home territory as ruler of Aquarius. So these two rulers of their own domains are having an issue playing together nicely, so to speak. So Saturn's worrisome, cautious nature that it always brings to this kind of square aspect with whatever planet that it's interacting with, this really kind of cautious, nervous energy with Venus, it really is a downer for Venus. It really is a time that Venus really just wants to revel in the bliss of her home, and doesn't really want to leave that right now. Like, we've put so much work in for the past year, and now if we've hopefully we're as comfortable as we can be, and now we just want to stay in that. We just want to be in that comfort, and and we've surrounded ourselves with those things that we find beautiful and nurturing and nourishing and make us happy. But Saturn is there like, we need to go out here to do this. We've got work to do over here. None of this involves being at home. So it is a difficult time just wanting to get out and be present in a world in a dutiful sense or a dutiful way. That's not to say that we are completely debilitated and we're not going to do that, but it's just a time where we're just not feeling it. And if you're one of those kind of types of people who feel like they're not feeling it a lot, um, then this is kind of a time to like understand that it's not just you, that it really is just a thing that's going on right now. Um, so, and as you can see here, it says applying. Okay, so we are, Saturn is really laying it on here with this. It really does make Venus really grouchy with this aspect. So we can have issues or difficulties just with our mood in general, with Saturn's cautious and hesitant attitude, where it kind of has a tendency to kind of bring up the things that we are afraid of, to try and work on those issues, to try and integrate. So with Saturn square Venus, maybe we're wanting to keep those pleasures around us, but Saturn is causing us to venture more outwards, more so than we're really wanting to during this time, and it's making us a little grouchy. And yeah, it's just one of those times that we're just really requesting that break, but we're also having this request from Saturn over here that there's still more work that needs to be done, that there's still more focus, and so I hope that with this aspect that this is a time that we will be able to really implement some improvements, whether it be on ourselves or some projects that we're working on, or if it's communities out there, and the gods know that infrastructure is so important and such a big deal, and so something that we're all heavily discussing right now. So hopefully this is a time that we can really get some, even though they might be uncomfortable and painful conversations and possibly arguments during this time, but I'm hoping that this is a time that will bring about the changes that we so desperately need. And yeah, I think that's about everything for now. And take care of yourselves, take care of each other, stay healthy, stay well, stay safe, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. Bye bye.